All right, and welcome to day 7 of the 30-day redemption. This is a journey of mind, body, and spirit. And we are 7 days into the mind segment. So far, we've covered some valuable information to help you along your journey as you're quarantined or you're social distancing, to get information that can help you to build yourself, to build your family, stabilize your mind, body, and spirit in the road ahead. Today, we're discussing the topic of redemption through entrepreneurship. This is part 3. If you missed the part 1 and 2, be sure to go into our fan page on Facebook and follow us, and you'll be able to see all the videos, not only for June, but also for April and also the road ahead. So today's discussion of redemption through entrepreneurship will cover your value, your money. Disclaimer is that the opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the presenter. They do not purport to reflect the opinions or views of the 30-day redemption or its members, officers, staff, partners, or advertisers. So let's get into this conversation. You've heard of the statement family values. When we think of family values, we think of things like trust, and we think of things like loyalty, and we think of things like legacy. And those are very important family values. And I'm sure other people have their own personal extensive list of family values. But have you taken the time to actually value your family? What is the economic, what is the social, what is the value of your family? What is the value of you as an individual within a family? And how does this tie into entrepreneurship? How does this tie into redemption? Well, we'll take a look at it and we will get some answers as we go through our presentation. But right now, the question is, what is the value of your family? So as we talk about your value and your money sources, how does one go from value into accessing money? And how does that tie into entrepreneurship? Well, anyone that's an entrepreneur knows, or even as they say out there, they say what? It takes money to make money. So how do you access money? And is all money, or is money the only value within the organization? Are you starting off with value and able to access money through the value? So we have to look at that and we have to define a few things. The first thing is net worth. Now, net worth and is calculated by the total assets minus the total liabilities. And this is used both for company, but mostly for individuals. It's used for individuals to determine what is an individual worth. In companies, it's also used within your financial statements to see what is the company worth. But most individuals, when it comes to calculating their net worth, most individuals cannot calculate their net worth, because the net worth for most individuals is really paycheck to paycheck. There is no net worth. Sometimes it's zero, sometimes it's negative. Case in point, if you make $50,000 a year and you lose about $15,000 in taxes before you even handle the money, you're at $35,000 a year. If you have expenses as an individual of $3,000 a year, that is $36,000 a year in expenses. You are $1,000 a year in the negative, making $50,000 a year just to survive. So an individual trying to calculate their net worth can't even really get to that conversation because most people are in debt. So, for example, if you own a home, you may have a piece of paper that says you own a home, but you really never own the home until the house is paid off. A house is a debt unless the house is paid off. Is a house an asset? Yes, if it's paid off. Is a car an asset? Yes, if it's paid off. So most people cannot really calculate. The average Joe, most of us, blue collar, self employed, most people cannot really calculate net worth because they're usually in debt. Usually people have no tangible assets. Some do. Remember, just because you have a home doesn't mean you own a home. Even though they're using the term homeowner, you're not a homeowner unless you have a deed that says it's free and clear. No one has a lien. No one has a lien on your car. So usually people have no tangible assets. You may have a pension, you may have a retirement, you may have some stocks. Now you're starting to talk about some assets. Most people don't have that. Most people don't understand it. We also talk about cryptocurrencies. Sometimes people have that. That is an asset. And we'll take a look at some things that can be used later on in our conversation as assets, as collateral. Sometimes people even overlook intangible assets that they didn't really see as an asset. So you have to ask yourself, do you have any assets? And what are they? Like I said, most people live from paycheck to paycheck. It looks, how we would say, it looks good on paper. Have a home, have a car, have two cars, have a 401k. You know, a lot of these are hypothetical. The current national state of emergency that we're in has over 30 million people. 10% of Americans are dependent right now on the government for survival. If the government didn't intervene, it probably would be mayhem because people are trying to survive, usually paycheck to paycheck. And then when there's no paycheck to paycheck, you're surviving from stimulus to stimulus. So are you overlooking value? Are you not really calculating all of your value so that you can add to this pot of what you are worth? Sometimes we even say, or people that work in the 9 to 5 or corporate, they say, I'm not being paid what I'm worth. What are you worth? Have you calculated what you're worth? And maybe when you do calculate what you're worth, then you will be able to demand what you're worth or go after what you're worth. But are you leaving value on the table just by not knowing all of your value? No one should be able to say to you, to tie these two thoughts together, that because you don't have net worth, assets minus your liabilities, that you have no value. That's a lie. You have no value because you haven't taken the time to calculate your value and to separate what your net worth is on paper from what your value is. So this journey is to discover what your value is and turn it into an asset. So what are my options? You just finished saying I can calculate my values, but I may not have net worth. So what are my options? How can I realize my value? And how can I turn that into a revenue generating business? Well, first, have you even listed all of your tangible and intangible assets on a sheet of paper? Have you even said, this is a list of all my tangible, my house, yes, my mom left me a house, my car, I finished paying it off. I expect, my pension when I turn 57, 65. I have some money inherited. My father bought me some stuff. Have you done that? What are your intangible assets? So this is an exercise that must be done. We have to be able to look at this so that you can begin to realize what you didn't realize and what you don't know about yourself. There's even value in your DNA. You might have inherited something in your DNA, but there's also liabilities in your DNA. So we talked about generational curses, but do we talk about generational blessings? What are some of the things that are assets? In scripture, there was a time where people when they entered a vow with the Lord, they were given an estimate. An estimate was given on people and based on their gender, male or female, or their age. And it, started at a very young age and went all the way up. There was an estimation based on age. There was even an estimation based on people who were poor. An actual value was given to people back then. So here's the scripture. It's Leviticus 27 and 1-7. It says, "Speak unto the children of Israel, say unto them, when a man shall make a singular vow, the person shall be for the Lord by his estimation. And thy estimation shall be of the male from 20 years old, even unto 60 years old, from 20 to 60, even thy estimation shall be 50 shekels of silver, after the shekels of the sanctuary." So a guy between the age of 20 and 60 had a valuation of 50 shekels of silver. And if it be female, then thy estimation shall be 30 shekels. And if it be from 5 years old, even unto 20 years old, then thy estimation shall be of the male 20 shekels, and for the female 10 shekels. So obviously they were giving more shekels, more of silver value for male versus female. Why the dynamics of that? That's not for us to really understand right now. But it did happen like that, and there was a value given. It says, "And if it be from a month old even unto 5 years old, then thy estimation shall be of the male 5 shekels, and for a female the estimation shall be 3 shekels. And if it be from 60 years old and above, and if it be male, then thy estimation shall be 15 shekels, and for the female 10 shekels." So there's obviously a bigger value paid between the age of 20 to 60 for males and females if they were making a vow to do whatever service for the Lord. That's how it was valued back then. Today, we don't put a value on people. We put a net worth on people. And so we overlook the values on ourselves and other people because we just literally did not do the work to determine what that value is. So what I'd like to do is to do a group um, participation and a brainstorming session for each one of you to take a pen and pad. We're going to take about 3 to 5 minutes. And I want you to write down, or if you're in front of a computer, type it out. Whichever one you want to do it on your phone, do it on your notes, but be ready to answer the list of things that you consider assets that you own. Make a list. Some may sit at that piece of paper staring for the whole 5 minutes. Take a few minutes and write down on a list of paper. Make a list from 1 to 10 and write as many as you can of assets that you own, tangible and intangible. And then we're going to take a look at those assets and see if there's some value you might have left on the table. So I'm going to give you guys 3 to 5 minutes to write those things down, and we'll come right back. Got another 2 minutes. Write down tangible and intangible assets. Tangible and intangible assets. And remember, when you're saying to someone, you're not paying me what I'm worth, have you calculated it? You have one more minute. And I need to hear from you guys before we continue the rest of the presentation. There's just like to hear if anyone is willing to share their short list. And I say short list because there's so much value in you that is unrealized that as we discuss it, you may have to add some things to the list. All right, so who's going to be our brave participant to share their list? Now, when I do my presentations, I like to either give you a chance or maybe call on you. So please be ready to give an answer. Who will participate and share some of the items on their list? Anyone?
I can go first.
All right, let's hear it. How
Okay.
many items do you have on your list?
Well, under tangible, I have 6. And intangible, I have a mixture of things, and I'm not really sure if they count.
Okay.
So I can start with the tangible.
Okay, let's hear
So
it.
I have my home, my car. I have 2 children. My jewelry, my electronics, my furniture, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Intangible, I have my culinary skills, my teaching skills, my creativity, my artistic side of me, my study skills, my research skills. I'm not sure about that, but that's about it on my list.
Okay, excellent. We'll come back to that as we continue our slides. I see Estella unmuted. What you got?
Okay, I did the mixture of a list of both. I'd say first my daughter, my books, my furniture, my electronics, my entrepreneurial gifts, my talents, my creativity, my my brand, my car, and my business.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else would like to share?
I would like to share.
Okay. What you got, Dana?
I have insurance, my car, property, my children. I have my family traditions and customs, my nurturing skills. I have my decorating skills, some marketing knowledge, and I have organizational skills, community organizational skills, and my cooking skills.
Excellent. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so we're going to build off of that. I'm going to go ahead and fire back up the presentation and share with you all some items that you may or may not have overlooked. Here are some other items. Have you considered your gifts, your talents, your time? Is time an asset for you? For example, when we did the presentation, when I did part 1, I said, well, everybody's an entrepreneur, if that's what we're talking about, because you sell time to other people 40 hours a week. You sell about 2,080 hours a year in exchange for money. Is your time an asset? Are your experiences an asset? Even some of your negative experiences, is there a value to those experiences, especially if you live to tell it? But not only those type of non-professional experience, but professional experience. Has your years in school or your years on the job? You have people that may work years on the job and they don't have a degree, but they have the experience and they have the contacts. Speaking of that, are your contacts and connections an asset? When people talk about their book of business or their contacts, can you make a phone call and make things happen? Can you put some people together? Are you connected with family or friends that can make things happen? And is there a value to that? Is that an asset to you? Is your DNA an asset? Have you learned something or passed something down, or something been passed down to you that can be utilized? Is your culture an asset? Is the plasma in your body an asset? There's people that actually purchase plasma. Is your art an asset? For example, Alex mentioned her artistic skills. But is your art itself, not the skill, but the art, able to be valued and able to, let's say each one of your pieces is worth $1,000 because someone paid $1,000 for it and you have the receipt of sale. Two people purchase your art for $1,000. Three people. Can we surmise that if you crank up 50 pieces, that they're worth $50,000? Well, if people are buying them for $1,000, that is a valid assumption. Coins, collections, domain names, .coms. You can go and find a .com and purchase it today, and tomorrow it's worth $500. Just certain keywords. I purchased a .com with the word education, and it's like words, but the domains with the word education are worth up to $2,000. Cool. Can you purchase it today and the value of it be increased just because of the combination of words that you're using are trending? Absolutely. Okay, so how many domains can you purchase, and what is the value of those domains? Just the name itself, and then when you develop the website or the brand, can you take a brand and or a logo or an image and copyright that and build a brand around it and build a website around it and increase the value? Absolutely. You can build a domain and a website just like you could take a property that is dilapidated and renovate it and rent it and get money from it. You can do the same thing with a .com as you could do with a property. Less overhead, but you could do the same. Buy it cheap, sell it high. Like I said, I have a domain. I have a few domains. Those who know me know I have a lot of domains, but I have one domain in particular that I purchased very cheap many years ago that is worth about $12,000. And I have the offer that was made for 10 and I rejected it. So domain names, have you considered those? Have you considered purchasing your name as a .com as you build your brand? As you build your assets, is your name worth something? If you don't buy your name, someone will. Your ideas. Have you considered some ideas? You're like, you know what, it'd be cool. If I was to invent, and then did you write it down or did you just talk about it? Are you building it? Are you developing it? What about your skills? When I did part one, I said you should look up what the word skill means. Well, the word skill means discernment. Etymology, not skills in the modern definition, but in the etymology means to discern. Can your discernment skills, which is the ability to forecast things or to see the unseeable, is that an asset? Absolutely. It could be an asset in any environment to be able to see the unseeable, to be able to detect certain patterns. Absolutely. Knowledge. I heard someone say, I think it was Raphael, said, you know, she likes to read. Is there a value not only of the books themselves, but the knowledge? And then plug that into a vision. How does that go from information to application to compensation? Information, application, compensation. You could be a subject matter expert because you have knowledge on this particular topic. If you put it on the right platform, it becomes valuable. That's what they call content. That's why you have various YouTube channels and people speaking about their area of expertise, building an audience. And that becomes an asset. Why? Because your channel has a certain amount of people, and the people who are on your channel, you influence. And because you're an influencer, people pay you money to advertise on your channel or pay you money to come to show up at their place to influence those people. Or if you have an event and you invite those people who you influence, you monetize because they pay for the tickets to come. Same way you pay to go and see your favorite singer or your favorite actor, and they charge you at the door. That has value. That's why some people sell out theaters, sell out this, because there's a value to your presence and people will pay money. And so that becomes an asset, your very person. Your reproductive ability. I'm glad everyone that shared their value or their assets mentioned their children. Absolutely. Your children are an asset if you teach them properly. If you nurture them, right, they can be an asset to help to alleviate, to help to support. Like I mentioned back in the days, your family name also represented what your family did. The Baker family were a family of bakers. Okay, the children learned the family trade. Okay, if your father was Italian, he had a pizza restaurant, more than likely the sons are going to come up in the pizza restaurant business. That's why you have businesses like such and sons air conditioning, such and sons contracting, because your sons and your daughters became assets to your company to continue your company. These days, children have no loyalty but to themselves. Not all of them, but many. And so many family businesses and many assets of having children become liabilities because they don't care about anyone but themselves. So reproductive ability, yes. If you have good children that understands what it is that you're doing and are joined to it, or if you have children that do pursue their own path, but turn around and brings it back for the family. When you look at some of the Asian families, some of the Indian families, some people come to America, learn what they have to learn, and do what? Take it back home. There is a sense of loyalty to nation and a sense of loyalty to family. That becomes an asset. I'm going to go out here. I'm going to go to this school, learn this trade, bring it back for the family. I'm going to go learn this and bring it back for the family. That's an asset. Your books can also be assets. Your data. See all these conversations on text, all these conversations on social media, all these conversations in emails. Someone houses your data. And your data and your personality and your semantics and the things that you say and how you say it, someone is gathering that data. It's called big data. And they take and understand your profile and your personality and they sell you to you. Oh my goodness, how did they know? I was just talking about this and it showed up on my timeline. Yeah, because they're listening to your conversation. And they're tracing you all over. Look up Google Pixels. Google Pixels trace you from Google everywhere. Okay? It traces you from everywhere and follows you. wherever you may go. It doesn't matter. One company that I spoke with said, yeah, we follow everywhere they go. And it doesn't matter. Years later, you could go on another website and the Google Pixels follow you. So we know that Google Pixels data sells you to you. Okay? Let's continue. Build your value. First, understand your value. Build your value. Build your portfolio. Build your value. Build your portfolio. What does that mean? That means after you've taken an assessment of all those things that we covered on the list, or for some of you who have your own list, and by the way, it gets longer and more extensive than that. We will cover that in future workshops. But after you build your value, now you can build your entities. So let's use the domain. Say I'm going to focus on domains. I'm going to buy every year 200 domains, and I'm going to pick the best domains and I'm going to put it on the domain marketplace. Well, that becomes an asset. You may have the mind to pick certain words, and those words become valuable, and you turn around and sell them. $1,000, 5,000, 10,000. You're treating the domains like you do the stock market. Buy low, sell high. Got this domain, sell this for 500. Made a profit. Sell this for 10,000. Because as things become and trend, look at the word COVID. You know COVID. Whoever on COVID19.com, that's a very popular search word. You type that in, Google, if you own COVID-19, that's going to be one of the first things. That has a lot of traffic. A lot of people are searching for answers. Can you turn around and sell that domain? Yes. So you have to pay attention to what's happening. Grab them and build it. Now, if you take that one domain, build a one-page website, and just giving some information or resources, that traffic that's going to that website, people will pay you money for the traffic going to your website. Does that add value to your asset? Absolutely. So if you take and build a portfolio of domain names, and then you may say, I'm going to take out of the domain names, I'm going to take maybe 20 a year and build a website that's going to get traffic and charge the advertisers. Just do some simple math. You know, you take 20 domains, let's take 10 domains a year. You pick the best ones and you build a one-page website, and you collect from advertisers. Say you have one advertiser who'll pay you $500 a month to be on your website. Let's say you'll get $500 a month for each one of those 10. You pick the best top 10. That's $5,000 a month times 12 months. That's $60,000 a year for some domain with some traffic. Is that an asset? Absolutely. It becomes an asset because when that money goes into your bank account and you want to go and get any kind of loan, and they say, can you show us your financials? Like, we want to see a different money source. Do you have like 3 months of bank statements? I absolutely do. Oh, we see here in this thing you have about 5,000 a month coming in. Where's that coming from? Oh, that's coming from my advertising on my domains. Okay, and what's this other money from? Oh, I buy and sell domain names, and that's another 5,000. We have 10,000 a month in income. Well, how much money are you looking for? I'm looking for about, $40,000 in liquid. Well, what do you plan on doing with the money? Buy more domains and build more websites. It becomes a value to you. So that's just one example. Assets with proof of value can be used as collateral. Just gave you a very simple example. But your assets, your domain names, your websites, and everything else that you have can be used in order for you to access additional capital. So why aren't we assessing and building our personal portfolio of value? Why are we saying, I don't have anything. I don't own anything. I don't have anything. You do. You just overlooked it. So collateral can be used once you have value that you can prove, or asset that you can prove the value of, how can I prove the value of my domain? Because they show you the value of the domain based on the keywords. Now, remember, as with all assets, they go up and down in value. My domain that they're offering me $10,000 for may not be worth $10,000 in 2 3 years, unless I build it. Just like your house, which may be worth a certain amount of money, if this market continues doing what it's doing, you may have 100,000 in equity or 50,000 in equity, but let the market shift and go down, you lose the equity in your house because supply and demand, no one's buying. So the demand that drives the prices up is not there. The demand begins to drop, so the prices drop. Okay. But while you have collateral, and that's why you diversify your various assets, because one may go down and another may go up. So you have to know how to do that. That's more into investment. Okay. But what is a collateral? It says here the meaning is something of value given as security. Something of value given for security. I want $50,000. Well, what do you have? Well, I have some gold. I have a house. Is the house paid for? Or do you have a loan? Paid for. Great. I have some gold. I have a house. Do you have any stocks? I have stocks. I purchased some stock in this company. Awesome. What else do you have? And you run down the list. And you get to leverage that. You could even use your time as an asset if you structure it right. Because you better believe that the company you work for is using your talent, some of them, and your skill as part of how they get money. Oh yeah, we have some of the brightest people in the world. We have this person, that person. So our company, our talent pool, yeah, they're leveraging your talent pool to get finance. You're not. That has to change. Here's some types of collaterals that banks accept. For a personal loan, personal real estate, home equity, personal vehicle, paychecks. Your paychecks can be used as a collateral. Payday loans. Cash or saving accounts, investment accounts, paper investments, such valuables as fine art, jewelry, or collectibles. You don't believe it? Go down to any pawn shop. They take whatever. You don't get the maximum, but you can access cash at a pawn shop. That's the lowest rung on the finance totem pole, but nonetheless, you see how you could take assets and turn it into money. For a business loan, it could do a blanket lien, on your whole company. All right, well, we'll put a lien on your equipment. We'll put a lien on this. We'll put a lien on that. And you don't pay, they take it all. You have a lot of incentive if you're working in a company, and if you don't pay the loan, they could take your company. UCC liens, that goes into filing a lien on you, or someone could file a lien on a loan that they gave you, either on equipment or on anything that you have, on you. This person owes me this amount of money, and we have their assets as collateral. Okay, we have that on record. When you pay it off, the lien comes off. Business or personal real estate, home equity, business property like machine or specialized equipment, business or personal vehicle, farm assets and products. Do you know that if you have a farm, that the animals on the farm can be used as collateral? Back in the days, this was a little darker part of history, in Georgia, they were using slaves as collateral. You take your slave down and put a lien on them. You don't pay, the bank gets to take them. That's how crazy it was. Your slave was the same as your sheep. You can put a lien on assets such as animals. You could put a lien on crops. So that farm life is the life. At least consider, especially now. You can put a lien, agri-lien. Okay. Accounts receivable is an asset for a business loan? Do you have any monies that you expect? Oh yeah, all kinds of people owe me money. Okay, well, can you make a list of all your accounts? Yeah, I certainly can. This person owed me 4,000, this one 5, this one 10, 20,000. Okay, well, we will go ahead and collect on. Are those performing? Yeah, they're paying piece by piece. Okay, it could be used. Or accounts receivable people actually paying, like subscription accounts. There's subscription accounts, and every month you get your people faithfully paying on those subscriptions account. That can be used as a collateral. Inventory, natural reserves. You're sitting on some land and someone assessed that, oh yeah, you guys have oil in this land. Okay, well, that's a collateral. Insurance policies, whole life. You could even put insurance on yourself as a guarantee. Like if you want to get a loan, that the company could put an insurance policy on you as well. That's another form. We'll put $100,000 lien on you. Something should happen, either paying our debt or death. Investment accounts, paper investment, business savings accounts, such valuables as fine art, jewelry, or collectibles. Okay. And then the auto loan, your vehicle you're purchasing itself becomes the collateral. The vehicle, personal vehicles you already own can become collateral. Home equity in your house, investment accounts, paper investments, cash or savings accounts. All of these are collateral, but in order for you to utilize something as a collateral, you have to secure it as a collateral. Okay. Securing your assets is an important part of being able to leverage or use your assets. So here's a quick layout of an example. Okay. If you're a creative person, your art, your books, your poems, your music, the more you generate, the more you can valuate. If you're an artist or a writer or a poet and you're not using your time to create more assets, you deserve to say, I don't have anything. People are not paying me what I'm worth. You want to know why? Because you don't pay you what you're worth. You're not creating. If you're an artist, create as much art as possible. I believe myself to be an artist as a visionary. I create brands. I could do it indefinitely. I will create as many as I can, and each one of those brands will hold value. So let's say, for example, you are creating art, music, and books, and the value of those art, music, and books, or either one of them, is valued at $100,000. How do we know this to be true? This is why, especially in the music space, artists are getting smart and starting to what? Own their masters. Because the masters is the original that allows you to give the right to duplicate your work. If you are an artist and your original artwork that you create, you can sell prints. If you are an author, your original manuscript. If you are a producer, a movie producer, your movie script. All of these things carry value. It doesn't matter if no one is recognized. Some people have scripts that they wrote or things that they have done that wasn't recognized in that time, that's recognized years later. Create and protect. So say, for example, any one of these art, music, or books, the value is $100,000 and you have that. The domain names you purchase is $30,000. The experiences that you have. Okay. If you want, you could use the certificates that GoDaddy show. They have these certificates that show this is what this is worth. You could use that. The experiences that you have. Can you consult using your experiences and say, I'm going to offer 500 hours of my experience at $100 an hour. Who wants to contract with me? Is that valuable? Yes. Why are you not getting it? Because you don't put a value to it. Property with equity. Do a appraisal or You could do some of the online appraisals, but it's nothing better than someone telling you the value of your house. You paid a $500, and it shows, nah, this property, based on the comparables of other properties, is worth this much. You have this much equity. You can get money based on the equity of your house, home equity line of credit. You could refinance and get some money out. You could save money by refinancing and getting rid of some of the debt, especially if some of you have purchased homes back in 2000, 2009, or earlier than that at high interest rate. The interest rates are so low now, you can save money. Saving money is making money. If you can save $500 to $300 a month, you've just accessed more cash that you could do something with. That's valuable. It's just how to use the value. What's the value of your credit? What's the value of your score? Can it get you lower interest rate? Can you save more money by lowering your interest rate? What is the value of your business? How many businesses did you have? What is the value of each one? Can you use the business to get a business credit card? Can you use the business to leverage and get this, get that? Gold and other jewelry. So when you add up, however you do it on your piece of paper, and prove the value of the things that you have, can you now use that and go to the bank and say, I need to get some cash to make some moves? One of the worst things is to be what? Equity rich and cash poor. Where you have the equity, you don't know how to access it, and you're suffering. There's also other values besides the monetary values that we talked about. There's a social value. How are you representing yourself in society? The qualifications of the relative importance that people place on the changes they experience in their lives. What is the value going from point A to point B? 30-day redemption is a value generating machine. You come in, you learn, you apply, you grow. 30-day redemption has social value as a brand because it is giving value to the participants, whether they acknowledge on Zoom or if someone just watching the video and gleaning and not even turning around and say thank you or anything. It is a value generating machine. It is not a negative platform. So it has social value, and then the recipients have value because of what's received, and then whatever else you do in your life. It's not just the job and going back to school, but how are you representing yourself in society? What impact are you making on others? What impact are you making on your family? What impact are you making at all? Okay, these things add value to you. There's also the social credit system, how you're evaluated. They have this in Asia, in China. And what is that? That's a national reputation system being developed by the Chinese Communist Party. The program initiated regional trials in 2009 before launching a national pilot with 8 credit scoring firms in 2014. In 2018, these efforts were centralized under the People's Bank of China with participation from the 8 firms. By 2020, it is intended to standardize the assessment of citizens and businesses' economic and social reputation or social credit. What are they saying? They're saying, what are you contributing? What are you doing? Who are you? How are you making an impact? What is your value to our government and to our society? Everyone has value. Everyone just doesn't know. In China, they're not playing that. Some of the things we're doing here where somebody say, well, I'm just chilling. Chilling? What are you doing? I'm not saying you can't relax, but I'm saying we have a lot of chill time and not a lot of value time, leaving a lot of value on the table. Human capital. Sounds kind of slavery-ish, but human capital is a real thing. Human capital is you and all of the things that surround you, as you can see in the diagram, your knowledge, your creativity, your abilities, your skills, your wisdom, your education, your training, your experience, your judgment. It may be on paper, it may not be on paper. Everything is not so, like, do you have a degree? What is your background? You may have things that's just untapped. Sometimes people have spiritual gifts. They can discern things, they can feel things. Some people have the gift of touch. All of that adds to you and to your value. And when we begin to understand that, now when you look at killing a man, all this talk about George Floyd, when you kill a man, what have you destroyed? In this society, you're taught that people by their color of their skin is valued. So certain people's skin color, when they die, it's like it seems like it's nothing. No, you've destroyed a valuable human capital, and something besides the life was lost. All that could have been created, all that was possible, you actually cut off someone's lineage. It's not just killing somebody, it is destroying their lineage. So when we begin to put value on ourselves and assess it, one thing that I've mentioned before is put some insurance on it. So imagine you do all of the assessment and then you put insurance on not only your companies but yourself, as was covered yesterday when Alex did part 2, and somebody destroys what you have. Imagine if, and I'm not advocating that this should have happened, but imagine if any one of these young men or older men that were killed had $1 to $10 million life insurance policy due immediately. I bet you that less people will want to kill them because somebody's going to pay. And that's really it. So what is human capital? Is the stock of habits, knowledge, social, and personal attributes, including creativity, embodied in the ability to perform labor so as to produce economic value. So that's how the system looks at value. It looks at what can you do to increase the economy of the system. So the question becomes, well, what can you do to increase the economy of your family, to increase the economy of yourself? So going back to the original question, yes, we know about family values, but have you valued your family? And when you take those values and you put them all together, you can create redemption through entrepreneurialism, because what we have located the source of the money, the source of the talent, and we use those things to take your value to access your money. And here we have it. Access your value, own your value, leverage your value. So I'm going to open up for any questions, any comments that anyone has about this topic before we continue. Does anyone have any questions, any thoughts, or any comments to add? You have the floor. If you're shy, you can type it in the text. If you're not shy, I may call on you to give your input. So who wants to go first?
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay, you're so brave. What you got?
When you were talking about generational blessings and the generational curses, and it clicked in my head, and it's like, I just had like a quick flashback, and I just thought of all my family members and all my cousins, and like, hey, wait a minute, we're all really great cooks. And sometimes if we don't know where to start, maybe we just look at our family and look at the common talents that is, among all of them, and try it, start exploring through there instead of, always concentrating and thinking about the curses. I know when I get together with my family, we're always talking about all the bad stuff, like, this and that. And, it happened to grandma, now it's happening to so-and-so. And then, but when you said that, it just clicked on me, and I just realized, I have a lot of wonderful bakers in my family. So, I'm going to explore that some more, and maybe, hint around to like, so-and-so, like, hey, have you ever tried to do that? Have you ever tried your cooking skills? Like, your cousins can do this. What can you do?
Absolutely. family business based on the multiple talents of cooks. That's value. And it just sits there. Not only the value of them cooking, but the value of the recipes and creating an entity that grabs all the various recipes and let all the family get some resources from it. The recipes, the cooking, the pictures, the channels. It just is endless. But imagine that's just sitting there dormant,
And I wanted
unused.
Exactly. And I wanted to add one more thing because I was talking to my cousin who's an excellent cook. And she did have a business, but she wasn't in business, with her family. She was in business with someone else and, it just fell through. But just imagine if you were to do it with a family member that you trust, that you guys have everything in common, it could flourish quickly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we talk a lot about spirit family, and imagine now, besides the DNA, you have people who have that spiritual connection doing things together and creating. And what does that equity look like as well? So you have options of doing great things by just taking the time to assess what you really have. And you could go from there. So thank you for that. Did you have anything else to add?
No, that was just it. But assessment is number one. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. You're welcome. All right. Does anyone else have any input or any question in regards to um, this topic?
I have an input.
Okay.
Um, I think was really excellent. I think like most of my life, I never looked at my actual talents as an asset until I wrote it down, until I knew what could be done with it. Because when I think about assets, I always think about the tangible ones, the homes and everything else. So having looking at what I have as talents and gifts as value, which is something that is never really taught to us, that those things are valuable, they're worth something. So I think this was a great presentation because it allows you to see wow, look at all these talents and gifts that I have. And like what Alice just mentioned, something can come out of it, a business or, it can translate to currency. So that was really awesome.
Excellent. And it does translate to currency because once you take and have an understanding of your value, you can actually go and get a secured loan with your assets, showing the value of it. A friend of mine does appraisals of items that you have in your home, and usually these things happen after you die. And someone comes and they sell your stuff on eBay and find out that they sold something that was worth 40 times the amount. Didn't know. While alive, those things could have been assessed. You don't have to wait till you die to do an evaluation of your estate items. And once you have that, they issue a certificate that shows what it's worth, and you could insure it. That combination, insurance and certificate, is value as far as showing the evidence of what you have. And if their bank or whoever is lending wants to come out and do their own, they can. But this is what I have. This is what it's valued at. This is what I want. And that goes for tangible and intangible. So we have to take the time to do that. So I'm leaving open for another minute of Q&A. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Okay, what do you have?
Okay, so when you were talking about the domains, it made me think about all the LLCs I have, right?
Right.
And so I know there's this idea of an umbrella LLC, because what made me think about the domain is not having too many, or maybe having one big umbrella and then registering these things underneath that. But I don't know if that applies to domains, and I don't know how it applies to LLCs, but I do know there might be a parent company and then all these other companies under there. So how do you establish all of these different entities without having to have them so separate?
There's a few ways. You were right about the parent company, and it's just one company owning the rest. So using the example of the LLCs, for example, if you have 10 LLCs and one parent company, that one parent company just goes on each LLC as the member. That one company is the owner of the LLCs. And so you can literally take the one parent company and call it the group. So let's say it's the Yane Group, Yane Group Inc. And the Yane Group Inc. has, the barber shop, the barber clothing, the barber products. So the shop is one. Then you have clothing, that's another LLC. And then you have products, that's another LLC. All of that is owned by the Yane Group Inc. And Yane Group Inc. is the member that owns all of those LLCs. So that's one way of doing it. Um, or you could call it management. It could be Yane Management Inc. Yane Management isn't the owner of all those LLCs. Those LLCs is owned by another entity, but Yane Management manages those LLCs just from a liability perspective. So this it's all in structure, and that's just a simple example of taking one company, let it run all the rest, and not have to have 10 business cards for each one.
Right.
When you meet somebody, say, so what do you do? Oh, well, I got a barbershop, and then I do this, and then I'm also Uber driver. I bungee jump. It's like I just have Yane Management Inc. What is that? We manage a group of companies in the barber space. Oh, very simple, to the point. And if they want to know more, go to my website. Go to Yane Management Inc. and you'll see what our portfolio of companies.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
That's just one example. All right. Anyone else? Did I answer that? Did you have any other question, Yane?
Yeah, that just led me to more questions, but we can get
Okay.
off.
Okay. Yeah, and as always, we're gonna do workshop, but when we have 1 hour, you just squeeze as much as you can into the hour to make it edifying. But there's always going to be additional questions when it comes to this type of stuff. Um, and so again, another workshop, August 3rd, tapping into your value workshop. And so for those who are interested in going deeper in, you will receive an email. When you see it, make sure that you register and we can go further into the subject. I'll be hosting that. Uh, so that's it. If anyone has any other questions, this is the time to ask. If not, we will be wrapping up. Hopefully, you find great value in the conversations that we're having, and you will share the value that you have gained with other people so they can jump in as well. Amongst us on the phone, and for those who are even remote, just imagine when we take those things, those values, and put it together. You are actually witnessing what happens when people put value together, because 30-day redemption would not be able to happen without people putting value in. So what you're seeing is the value that people are putting in, their time, their talent, etc. But when we take that and we begin to pool greater and greater people who are in agreement to put their value in, just imagine what's possible. Okay. So with that, I will say have a wonderful day. Take care. God bless. And we will reconvene tomorrow for day 8. Share it with a friend, family, support what we're doing.